And welcome again to Relationship Saturday. We missed last week. Did you miss me? I missed you, but I'm back. I'm back to Relationship Saturday today. We are a little late for the 10 a.m. EST time, but nonetheless, I'm here. Today, I basically wanted to just give you some input regarding surviving a lockdown. Many times what happens in a situation in our lives is that we live so fast and furious. We are, as in relationships, doing our own thing outside of spending a lot of time together. We're either on our electronics, on computer, at work, traveling, and so there's not a lot of time together. A challenge happens when we actually are thrown into a room or into a small space or into a home, and suddenly we are faced with the fact that we are now together all the time. So whether it's teenagers and parents, parents and teenagers, husband, wife, wife, husband, grandparents, children, it just depends who's at home, what's happening, and suddenly all the quirks become very evident. All the things that we like, don't like, things that irritate just begin to be highlighted. And so now is the time to really take stock of where we are. And there's some practical things that we need to consider. Number one, I really believe, number one is having the right attitude. And the right attitude really comes down to having the right mindset. So what is your frame of mind right now? What is your mindset right now? I really want to suggest, if you're negative, and let me throw in this onto the negative things, is that if you're spending time constantly watching the news, constantly watching what's going on in the world, as far as the virus and people dying and how sick they are and how bad it is and how bad the economy is going, is basically what's going to happen is you're going to end up being negative, and that just rubs off into an atmosphere around you in your home, in the place where you are situated right now. And that's the last thing you need. You need to stay positive. Basically, we are nearly like prisoners in our home, and so it becomes very claustrophobic. You begin to have cabin fever after a while. And so a positive approach to things, and I'm not just talking about positivity and having a positive mindset, just a positive attitude, is just keeping your spirits up, keeping your mindset on a higher level rather than a low level of feeling depressed. And that's why if you're spending time on the news all the time, you're going to feel depressed. I've been watching this whole process coming for the past, since in fact the first cases was announced by China. I was aware immediately that something was going up, and I began to follow it. I was spending way into the night watching what's going on in China, in the Wuhan province, how the impact is going to affect globally. I was following up very closely, the economic fallout of this. I began to watch what the predictions are, how it's being handled, simply because for me, scenario planning is part of marketing. And so we need to be very aware. Hey, Mute, how are you doing, buddy? Thank you for hopping on. We need to be, as a marketer, as a strategist, you need to be looking at what are the scenarios. And I began to say to people, things are going to change. This is really bad. Things are happening. And but what I found is I got to this week, in fact, the beginning of this week, and I just began to feel depleted. Emotionally, I was depleted. I had spent so much time just following, looking at what this is, talking to people, encouraging people, but I just emotionally got to the place that I was depleted. So I took out a few days and just didn't watch anything on news. I didn't even get onto my podcast, which I do every day, the Leadership Boost podcast. I do basically every single day, and I just to inspire people in their leadership, inspire people in being a leader where they are, and having to inspire people. You've got to be inspired. You've got to have this, like, I've got to be energetic. I've got to be passionate. I've got to have conviction. I've got to have inspiration myself, and I just didn't feel inspired. So I stopped jumping on the podcast for 2 days. I just took a break. I just couldn't actually emotionally invest myself, and I don't want to get on and be negative. So I'm backtracking to my original point is you've got to have a positive mindset. And so that doesn't come by just staring into space. Sometimes it's having quiet time, having just time where you can think, where you can ponder, where you give your mind rest. But read positive books, watch some really soul uplifting, winning kind of movies, some good positive movies where there's winning involved, not this human drama that just, hey Natalie, how you doing? I'm great to have you on as well. So we need to get focused again on just keeping our spirits up, especially when we are together. So that's what I'm talking about, is the stress on our relationship when we're spending time in close quarters. So first off, you've got to have a positive attitude. All of that was to say, just have a positive attitude. And I'm not, just thinking positive, but working at having a positive approach. Because if you're negative, if you're depressed, if you're sulking, if you feel beaten up, if you feel like, woe is me, and nobody understands me, and you're being all touchy, sensitive, it's going to affect everybody, because nobody can leave. And typically in our relationships, what we do is we deal with two things, fight and flight. And so if we can't flee, we're going to fight. Now, some people flee anyway, even in your area. If they're in your presence, they tend to withdraw so deeply that they reject, they tend to cut you off and leave you. Don't do that. That's what I want to really encourage you, is be positive, do active. And I don't know about you, I'm not a boards game person, I'm not gamesy. The family, they like to play games. I don't like to play games. So I'll pick up a book, I'll read, I'll listen to something positive. Right now, outside of everything, I'm spending time studying gardening, not gardening, farming, how to farm vegetables, how to do container farming, and so how to use little bottles, how to use buckets, whatever I can. And I've been practicing, trying out, testing, etc. And so I've got 5 buckets out there right now, growing some vegetables and some herbs. I've bought 25 grow bags that I'm going to, unfortunately last night they shut us down, and so we've been in this is our 14th day of self-isolation, but now we actually, because people are not listening here, so now we in at least the next 7 days to 10 days in sort of forced isolation. It's not really that forced, but they really emphasizing that they don't want anything operating. So be that as it may, we are now home. So I didn't get enough soil to fill out my 25 grow bags, but I'll get there. But in the meantime, that's what I'm spending time doing outside of everything, listening. You just cannot stay intense all the time, because that will drive everybody crazy. So keep a positive attitude. Watch stuff that keeps you positive. Read, refresh. What I really want to say is have time out from each other. There is time to have time out. Go and sit in a different part of the room, and respect that for other members of the family, your spouse. specifically we're talking, of course, marriage here, is give your spouse space, is give them time to have time to refresh. So, you know, somebody else handle the kids, or if you are together all the time, you know, is whatever your situation is, give each other space and respect that. Have time where you can be alone time, but don't be alone time all the time, thinking that, you know, I don't want anybody else in my life. You can't think like that. You need to have interact with others. The other thing is that taking time to talk to others, talk to a friend, connect with a friend. Exactly, Minty. There are other channels besides CNN and Al Jazeera. Exactly right. So you don't have to watch that all the time. You know, for me, I'm like really searching on Netflix, and I'm looking for positive things like, you know, winners and champion kind of thing, and things that people have overcome, and just positive stuff to build me up. So, and of course, so what I'm saying is also respect each other, give each other time, space, and then of course number 3 is also take time to connect with others, you know, outside of your environment right now. Speak to friends, speak to family, jump on Zoom, jump on a call with somebody, a Skype call. WhatsApp is brilliant. Talk to somebody else, you know, talk to a friend. Rather share your frustrations out with somebody else rather than sharing your frustrations with your spouse and getting it out on them. Talk to somebody else. So I just need to talk to somebody right now. And if you don't have anybody to talk to, well, hey, book a call with me. Let's talk. I don't mind. Let's chat. That's what I love doing. So those are just some pointers that I think are very important to survive your relationship at a time like this. You know, is just basic things. Don't pick on each other. Don't. Oh, and another one is respect and be considerate. Be considerate of the other person. Yes, you know, you might be irritated with some of the things they do. Yes, you might get frustrated, and yes, you know that it's a situation now. You haven't got that outlet. You can't go to work, or you can't go to your mom and dad, or you know, you can't go to your kids. You can't go to the shopping center to walk around the mall. You can't drive down to the beach, maybe. I saw a picture of Table View where we used to live, and the streets are quiet, man. There's nothing going on there. So you can't do any of that right now, but you can connect with people outside of you, but be considerate. So the frustration, oftentimes we get frustrated because we're in a situation and we're thrown together, and of course the smaller your place is, the harder it is to escape, you know, to get a time for yourself. But that's where you just need to find a corner, find a window, look out the window, spend time looking out the window and just staring into space, staring at the wide world, and just to refresh your soul, refresh your mind, refresh yourself a little bit, just get a different picture. You won't believe this, but what I do sometimes is I jump on YouTube and I just put the screen on ocean noises or waterfall noises, and I will just sit there and listen to nature sounds, water, the ocean, a waterfall, an African, because, you know, being African, I love to hear the noises of Africa. So I'll sit and listen to, and I'll just sit and listen. Just sit there, and you know, suddenly my soul feels refreshed. My spirit begins to not feel so heavy, and so those are just some practical things that you know, because you can't just talk all the time. Communication, of course, you know, that's my thing, is make relationships work with communication, but communication can't just happen all the time. You can't just talk and listen, because somewhere along the line that just, you need time out to refresh. And that's really what I want to say to you is have the talking time, have the time where you converse, but have something else to do. You know, if you're in a small place, I'm telling you, I started gardening with like bottles. I even took milk bottles and I just started and planted seeds and watched the things grow and watched some YouTube videos. And because gardening, I think vegetable gardening important. You may need it in the next few months to grow something in your home, some spinach or whatever the story, some tomatoes, or some herbs on your patio, whatever it is. But you know, you can't just read and you can't just watch movies all the time. You'll get depressed, and then it begins to overflow into the relationships, into your marriage relationship. And so, you know, what you want to do is have time together, but I really want to encourage you also to have time out. Give each other space, give each other time to reflect. You know, you take the kids and let your spouse have time alone. Give them space, give them some breathing chance, give them, you know, a few hours just to refresh, because they'll come back feeling better, and you all will be better. Talk to your friends, jump on together or individually. Just jump on a call with somebody and say, hey, can I just talk? I just need to talk. So that is my suggestions for surviving a lockdown together, because relationships, it's a great time to build the relationships, great time to invest in each other, great time to communicate, but also important is you can't do it all the time, 24 hours a day. There's, you know, that's when you start wrangling, and I hate to see you know, breakdown taking place because now you're just together all the time. It happens. I mean, when I was in the military and we would be, you know, forced to be together all the time, guys would get at each other, man, get at each other, you know. So even though you support each other and you fight for one another and you got each other's back, but man, you know, the little things, the little irritating things would come out after a while, things that you go, man, I don't like this about you. And so we start getting negative, we start picking, we start criticizing, we start getting sarcastic, and that is bad communication. Good communication is as good as sometimes saying, hey, I want to be considerate of you, I'm going to give you space, or saying, listen, I just need some space right now. Can I have some space right now? My challenge is, or my advice is, don't do it all the time. Don't withdraw so you become sullen, you become depressed, you sulk, you hide in your little corner. Get your attitude up, encourage their attitude. If you see somebody struggling, if they can't talk to you, if your spouse can't talk to you, you know, get them talking to somebody else. Get them talking to a friend or whatever the story is. But give them space. Give your teenagers space. They need space. Teenagers, give your parents space. But be considerate. Be considerate. Be considerate. Be considerate. Be considerate of one another. And that's really what I wanted to share with you. Just to encourage you a little bit at this time in your relationships. Keep building good, solid relationships, because this too will pass, this will end, and we will all go back to living our lives, going back to work, and you know, life will go on again. And you know, this time could either have made you or break you, and specifically about in your relationships. So you know, do the things that need to be done. Don't be self-centered, don't be selfish, be giving, be generous, be open-hearted, be considerate, be respectful of one another. You know, keep the negativity out. It's hard not to get negative, but keep it out, because you don't want to, you can't run away right now. You know, that's the thing, is a husband or wife can't run, so they can't flee, so fight takes place, or this deep separation takes place, deep silence takes place, and now we don't talk, we ignore each other. But if we do it right, early, quick, you know, be respectful, be considerate, get outlets somewhere else, watch positive stuff, read, you know, it doesn't matter what you do. The thing about it is it's either together or apart, but do it when you have a part, be considerate, be respectful of their part. When you're doing it together, be positive, be encouraging, you know, don't be at each other, whatever you do, because you're going to find the things that you don't like. You know, it's just like something's going to irritate you, and that's when you need to step away and say, I need time out, or you need time out. But don't be demanding, don't be overpowering, don't push, don't be self-centered. That's the important thing. All right, so just a whole bag of things that I'm throwing out at you, but I just really wanted to share that with you at this point in time, because I really want to see you make it, not break it, for the long haul and for coming out the other side. Great marriages, great relationships coming out of all of this. All right, until next time, thanks for being with me. Hey, great to have you with me. Thank you, Muti. I appreciate that. And Chris, Henk, great to have you with me. Xavier, super to have you on, buddy. And Kevin, you are a busy man, I see. Good stuff, man. All right, so love and leave you. Have a super weekend. Talk to you soon. And remember, the Leadership Boost podcast is on every day except for Sunday. So you can catch this. Right now, I'm recording this on the podcast as well. And every day I throw a few minutes of just inspiration for your leadership, whether you are a leader or a positional leader or not. I really believe that you lead. You are exceptional. You need to be exceptional. And so I want to inspire you to be an exceptional person, an exceptional leader, and especially at times like this. So upon it, Google, it's on Anchor FM, it's on iTunes, so you can catch me at any of those places. Just take 10 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day, listen to Sean, inspiring you to be the best you can be at a time like this. All right? So have a good one, and I'll catch you either on the podcast or I'll catch you live sometime during the week or on Saturday at the Relationship Saturday episode. All right, so have a super one and be blessed.